Okay, this is part 2 of the grand finale of the Magic Penny Experiment, where I've been gifting for 365 days, as well as posting every day to help become a living testimony of what is possible when we step out of the lie of lack and separation and back into our truth of infinite supply. Now, where I left off was I have received $130,000 from this last year from outside sources, not the people that I was gifting to. And that was one of the many miracles that God brought into my life during this experiment to help create a living testimony of what is possible when we take those leaps of faith. If you want to find out all the details of how it all started and all of that, go back and watch part 1. But so where I left off, my house I realized my house had mold. I'd been getting signs and visions telling me mold was in my house. And that's why it was making me sick. And I did not know how or why this mold was in my house. It was like finding a needle in a haystack. I felt helpless. I felt like there was no way I could figure this out, where this was coming from. 3 weeks after I started the Magic Penny Experiment, there was a happy accident that took place. It's a long story. But inadvertently, through that happy accident, I somehow figured out where the mold was coming from in my house. Something that I could have never even known was there. There was a leaky pipe behind the wall. There was no way I could have known that it was there. This house was a new build. This house was 6 years old or something like that. We're in a very dry area. You would never think that mold would be an issue, right? Somehow, I stumbled upon this leak and the mold was discovered. The $130,000 was a huge deal, but this, in my mind, was such a big deal because I felt trapped in a situation that I did not know how to get out of, and God revealed it to me in a matter of 3 weeks. It was a long journey to remediate that mold. I spent this last year traveling from place to place. At first I started house sitting because I didn't have any money to go anywhere. I was couch surfing, I was house sitting. It was a very uncomfortable position while being sick during the whole entire thing, right? But God showed me that He had a plan. God showed me that there was a plan. So I started traveling randomly while, my family, my friends were trying to figure out how do we get the mold out. It turned into be more extensive than we thought, but part of that other miracle was a lot of people joined in together, family, friends, to help to remediate this while I was out couch surfing and so on and so forth. So now back to, like I said, I stopped telling everybody what all the things were, where I was in the world, all these things, because I learned very quickly that don't tell anybody anything until it's done, right? God was like, don't tell anybody about anything until the end day. That's why, like I said, I'm really hope that all the people who are following me then see this so that they can get the full story finally. Because there's so many times I wanted to tell you that I could not, right? So, flashback to, I was in Croatia. I just went to Thailand. I went to Thailand first. When I went to Thailand, I literally did not have any money I didn't know where I was going next. That was a huge leap of faith. I made my way from Thailand to Croatia. I went to Croatia because it's really cheap to stay there. And, I did not go to Croatia next. Where did I go next? I went to Greece next. I ended up going to Greece next. Somehow there was enough money in the fund and everything for me to get to Greece. I stayed in Greece. I went to Mykonos for 1 month. Then I found my way to Croatia. When I got to Croatia, that's when I literally did not have any money left. Like there was I pretty much was thinking I was going to have to go home next, or I was going to have to go to house sitting. I didn't know. So this is where God was leading me. God was like, when we take these leaps of faith, we can't just do it with faith alone. We have to take the action to practice the realignment. So I started studying quantum physics. I started getting fucking aligned. And I got myself into such a high vibration during that time in Croatia where I knew that God would provide. I was being the embodiment of it. Then boom, out of the blue, I started seeing visions saying something was going to come in. And boom, $80,000. Out of the blue, came in from an outside source. And I'm not going to say what that outside source was, but it changed everything. It was coming up towards Christmas time. And I was like, I was alone out there. It had been a rough road. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to Paris. And I fucking spent Christmas in Paris. I got to see the Eiffel Tower. God is good. God is fucking good. I came back from Paris. Then I went to Vienna. I was only in Vienna for a very short amount of time. I was called back to the States. Where did I go after that? I went to my hometown of Santa Cruz, which I would never been able to afford to stay there because it's fucking expensive as fuck. And out of all the places in the world, that's where I wanted to go. I got to spend a month in my hometown and experience the redwoods and that feeling of home. Every place I went had a spiritual meaning, and there was all that too. Then I went to Nevada. Then I came back to here where I am and stayed in an Airbnb for a month there. Then I finally was able to return home. It took that long for everything to finally be remedied. But now I am back home, full circle. There were so like I said, I'm only going into the big things that took place just recently. So a lot of that money went to debt. It went to helping me be out and about during the mold remediation. It helped to pay for the fucking mold remediation. So a lot of that went to debt. A month or two ago, very recently, a month or less, another huge influx of 30 grand came in. Again, unexpected, out of the blue. And this is basically, a lot of that also has already been spent, right? It comes and it goes very quickly. But I'm in a place now to where I was taken care of, all of my debt got paid off, and now I'm in a good space for the next puzzle pieces that God's bringing in. So, what's coming next? I am being guided to go back to my music. I'm being guided to invest and put my energy into these new earth blueprints that have been coming in. And the puzzle pieces are still getting put together. Again, I don't want to talk about what is going to come. I just want to talk about what has come in. But needless to say, when we take those leaps of faith to come back into our truth of infinite supply and realign with that, you could be in the middle of the world not knowing where you're going to go next with famine and shit all around you. And if we come back to our remembrance and back to our truth of infinite supply, you will not only be taken care of, it will be an abundance, more than your mind can comprehend. Does that mean that money is bad? No. Does that mean not to sell your spiritual services? No. Does that mean that God is just going to do all this and we don't have to take any action? No. Does that mean that just gifting will give you everything? No. It is the alignment, the realization that we already have it within, and practicing that, not in perfection, but diligent practice. And the miracles that will come to you will be infinite. But here's to 365 days. I can't believe it's already done. But I'm sending you guys so much love. And here's to the next chapter.